I can't stand mummy bags. The last time I was in one, I got claustrophobic. I felt panicky. I felt like I just had to tear it off, like Hulk Hogan tears off a tank top. So I'm on a quest to find the warmest sleeping bag for big boys who need space to move around. To do that, I made this dummy. It's a custom-made thermal dummy, and we're gonna run all kinds of tests with him on a variety of sleeping bags.
Now, I know you're thinking, isn't this already a solved problem? After all, we have a European standard for sleeping bag temperature ratings and a very similar ISO standard here in the US. But I kind of doubt whether some of the low cost Amazon sellers paid the money to actually get their products temperature rated by a qualified lab. And anyway, check out these thermal mannequins they use in the official testing. They look nothing like me, especially this one running around wearing nothing but shoes. So I made my own dummy with my exact same body shape. Now, in all semi seriousness, the official mannequins only weigh 50 pounds, and I weigh more. I do think weight plays a role, right? The bag material gets compressed beneath your body and has a lower thermal resistance. So I made my dummy weigh the same as I do with the weight concentrated around the torso. Okay, I'm not actually dressing it up for the experiment. For my test setup, I'm using just the 30-gallon water bladder. I'll heat the water with a 500-watt aquarium heater. I have to cut and reconnect the umbilical cord. That way I can run it through the cap and then seal it back up again. I've set the heater to maintain a temperature of 93 degrees, which is as hot as it can reliably manage. The idea here is to measure the amount of energy required to keep the bladder warm throughout a cold night. Good sleeping bags with good insulation should require less power to stay warm. I'll measure the total kilowatt hours used, and I'll also keep track of the ambient temperature every minute throughout the night. That will help me normalize the results, since some nights may be colder than others. I'm actually making two identical test setups in order to get results faster. I used a timer to make sure the two bladders had equal amounts of water, and then I used hot glue to make the caps watertight again. All right, it's time to meet the contestants.
These are the three big bags. Each one weighs about 15 pounds. Actually, the Teton weighs 16 pounds. The Teton is rated for the coldest at negative 35 degrees, and it cost $130. Guide Gear is, both of these two are rated for negative 30 degrees, and the Guide Gear cost $110. Browning was the most expensive of any bag, so the Browning Klondike cost $240. I actually tested the Teton personally on a night that got down to about freezing. Which is not as cold as it's rated for, and it was very warm. It was too warm. In fact, I wish I could have put my feet out of the bottom, but you'll see it doesn't actually have a zipper that wraps all the way around the bottom. So that's my only complaint about that one. Here are the two lightest bags, the Bacina and the Rio Yalo, each coming in at 5.6 pounds, but they're still rated for 0 degrees. So we'll test that. They both cost $50 on Amazon. Here's the Agemore. It weighs 11.6 pounds. It's rated for 0 degrees, and it cost $89. It's a beautiful bag. It's got a removable liner, which makes it a little different than the others. Here's the Heisenice. It weighs 7.4 pounds and costs $75. It is rated at 0 degrees. This is the Coleman Heritage. It weighs 7.4 pounds, costs $90, and it's rated for 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually the warmest or the least cold rating of any of the bags I bought. This is the Orstar. It weighs 8 pounds, it costs $60, and it is also rated at 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The remaining 5 bags are not new. We've had them for years. In fact, this one I think I've had for more than 35 years. I just wanted to add them to the mix for my own experimental purposes. I can't find much information on them except for this one. It's a little kid's bag. It weighs 2.8 pounds, costs $31 currently. It's called the Coleman Illumibug, and it's rated for 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, when you're around a bunch of bags like this, it becomes pretty obvious pretty quickly that there are differences in zipper quality. Some are very frustrating, and others are smooth as butter. So let's run a quick zipper test. Just qualitative. I'm going to use the help of my 2 lab assistants.
right, the zipper test is complete. I'm not sure how useful it is, but at least it highlights the issue, and we'll keep the results in mind at the end of the video when we declare the final winner. And now on to the main event, the temperature test. Here's what it looks like in the tent with 2 bags being tested at once, except during the test, I'll seal off each bag using a steel bar to keep out drafts of cold air. The testing itself isn't too interesting to watch, so let's dive right into the results. The warmest bag is the Browning Klondike. That's according to my metric of watts per degree difference. So, for example, if the outside temperature was 0 degrees Fahrenheit and your body temperature was, 98.6 degrees, then you'd expect your body to expend about 32 watts in order to stay warm in the Browning. That's equivalent to eating 1 gummy worm per hour to stay warm, which seems pretty good. Now let's compare my measure of bag warmth with the official temperature rating. Down here we have that Browning, which did well in my tests, and it also has a very, very low official temperature rating. Very good bag. Up here is a bag that scored poorly on my test, but it's not claiming to be warm with the 45-degree temperature rating. That's my kid bag with the for sleepovers. Ideally, we'd see a line of dots all lined up from the lower left to the upper right. Not necessarily a straight line, but at least that my rating would agree with the official rating in ranking. Now we do see that with these 3 Colemans. That's a very nice pattern, a little line showing that we can trust that Coleman is telling the truth with their ratings in their marketing materials. These 4 I don't trust. They have very cold 0-degree official ratings, and yet they performed very poorly on my tests. In fact, the Rio Yalo and the Heisenice did no better than my kid bag, which I guess makes sense since they're about the same thickness. Now, measuring thickness is a little tricky to get fair, but measuring weight is easy. So here's the plot showing the weight of each bag. It still isn't a perfectly straight line, but clearly the general trend is that heavier bags are warmer. And I honestly don't understand how backpacking sleeping bags, mummy bags, fit into this picture, but at least for these big bags, the heavier the better. This plot seems even better. It says that bags that come in big boxes tend to be warmer. That's a nice pattern. And the final plot shows the bags arranged by price. Now here we clearly see the outlier. The Browning Klondike was very expensive. And for that reason, I have a hard time recommending it. Instead, I'm going to award first place to the Guide Gear bag. It's very warm. It's officially rated at negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. It scored better than the other 2 big bags on the zipper test, and it's less expensive, coming in at $110.
All right, there you have it. I hope that was helpful. Hey, quick channel update. The video on the sledgehammer is delayed. It turns out that welding is harder than it looks. I'm trying to weld thick metal to thin metal, and I keep burning holes in the thin metal. And when I try to fix it, it gets even worse. So I've got someone coming to help me with that. But in the meantime, I want to put out a video on pulling tape through 2-inch electrical conduit without using a shop vac. Instead, we're going to use robots and we're going to use rats. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you next time.